Hello and welcome to Camera Central Podcast. Today I'm with Toby Carter from
Hello.
Zeiss. We're talking about some of the bins and some of the scopes, I guess.
Yeah, all things
introduce
optics.
yourself. Talk about yourself a little bit, and
So my name's Toby. I've been a birder all my life. That is what I am at the end of the day. Ever since I was 5 or 6. I'd say we've just done a video and we spoke a little bit about this, but my grandparents took me to nature reserves. Passion has grown from there, being an outdoorsy person, and now that is my life basically. And became firstly a Zeiss ambassador, so I went out to Israel. There's a migration competition out there where it's like a bird race. You have 24 hours to see as many species as possible, but at the same time you're raising money for a different conservation body globally. That was in 2019, so just before COVID. Enjoyed that thoroughly to the point where I wanted to take a young birders team out from the UK. And then approached Zeiss, and they were like, yeah, sure, we'll do that. And then said, would you like to be an ambassador? So I was not going to say no to that opportunity.
No, 100%.
And then obviously COVID hit, so that the original plan never took place. But then once everything with COVID started dimming down, I was in North Wales at uni during all of that, so that was great fun, being locked down. And then last year, having done a lot more with Zeiss, they approached me to join the team full time, and business development executive is my
business development.
Yeah,
executive.
it's got a good ring.
That
to
sounds
it.
really really
just
fancy.
for the nature side. So everything that happens at Zeiss Nature UK, I've got a say in it at some point.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I've just come on board here really, and I don't actually know my title yet. So I'm thinking like leader of the rebellion,
You got to have something fancy.
creative genius. That's one. I mean, that's probably a little bit too cocky. Anyway, Zeiss. So today we brought down we went out to film at the wetlands, as you said earlier, and we brought down two separate binoculars down, which were the...
Yeah, with the Zeiss SFs, which this is my personal pair, and then we also brought the SFLs, and the ones we brought with us were 1040 SFLs.
Yeah.
Are they
victories or not?
These are victories, they're both victories. SF standing for smart focus, so where the positioning of the focus wheel is, and how easily it is to go from infinity to your closest subject. You haven't got to move the focus wheel much.
That's actually really useful.
It is. It's not something that people think about when it comes to optics. Most people's focus wheels are higher up, and they get a lot of finger strain. But with the SFs and most of the Zeiss range, they're in the right position.
So, like, when it comes to the quality of optics from like lower ranges, not necessarily talking about the Terra, I'm talking about kind of like the cheaper binos that you would buy just because you're looking for a bino, compared to what you'd get out of the more expensive. With like Victory, and there's a kind of like an in-between line there as well. Like, quality of optics, what are people going to see that's different between spending a little bit more on something or a little bit less on something?
I think most people's perception is, right, I want to buy some binoculars, I'm just starting. They're not thinking anything more than £100, potentially £200. So when you show them premium optics that, well, this SFs are just over £2,000, there's a big gasp and a big gulp. But that comes down to the quality of the lenses, the quality of the glass, the housing, the different coatings you have. So these are T-star coating for high contrast, Loto Tech coating that helps it become more waterproof. And then obviously Zeiss is associated with shot glass, so the shot glass inside. There's a lot of, the more expensive you go, the technical specifications increase more and more. And if you're someone that's going to be, I mean, I use these binoculars all the time, so I get my worth out of them. And it all depends how much you're going to be using the binocular, and how much enjoyment you're going to get from it.
Yeah, 100%. But I think the big thing is, from what I've noticed through working at the store and comparing it between like low quality optics that I've had, that I've tried out, and then you suddenly look through something a little bit more expensive, like the Victory lineup. Something I think which is a bit hard to show on video is just how different it looks through the high quality optics. It's another world.
It is, and I think one thing I will say is, if you are buying optics, just try them before you buy them. I mean, with Zeiss, we have a try Zeiss scheme where you can hire stuff for 48 hours, and you can actually try it before you are buying, because obviously, you know, with camera lenses, everything's subjective.
Yeah.
Everyone's different. Everyone's eyes are different. I could tell you Zeiss are the best binocular in the world, but you might not get on with them.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it does come down to personal preference for the most part. So why Zeiss for you? Why do you think Zeiss is important in the market, or where do you think they sit in the market?
I think everyone thinks of Zeiss from what we call the consumer product side of it. So that's binoculars, telescopes, and then cine lenses. But Zeiss, for me, it's the heritage. 176 years old, I think Zeiss is.
Yeah.
It's Zeiss lenses were used to film the moon landing.
Yeah.
Zeiss lenses are used in a lot of modern day films and TV shows.
Yeah.
I think Peaky Blinders was one of them.
Yeah.
Zeiss lenses were used in. Glasses, the vision side of it. That's a lot of that is Zeiss. If you need an operation and you need a microscope or whatever for that, that's a Zeiss lens. Most of the world's microchips use Zeiss technology. F1 cars use Zeiss technology for measuring stuff. Zeiss is everywhere. You don't see it.
Yeah,
so,
and I think with that, there's a certain understanding that their quality, if these industries that demand quality need them, then you're going to understand that what you're going to get out of them is going to be ultimately quality.
Exactly, and that's what it is. I think when you buy a Zeiss product in every different field that Zeiss are in, we are at the top.
Yeah.
So you're buying something that you know is going to be top nick, basically.
So you've been doing birding for a long time.
Yeah.
Right? What are your favourite birds that you find, or what is your favourite kind of bird that you see? I guess you've seen.
Yeah, well, so I live in Leicestershire, rural Leicestershire, and I'll be honest, where I live, it's a lot of farmland, there's a few woods here and there. There isn't a huge amount, especially in the winter months. It can really drag on. Especially those periods between summer and winter migration, where in the summer everything now is leaving, your swallows and your house martins, and you're waiting for those winter birds to come in. You're in a period where there just isn't much around. So I do enjoy going to the coast. So for me, I can get to the Lincolnshire coast around the Wash in about an hour, and go and see loads of waders and ducks, especially coming in the winter months. Norfolk, another great place to go for all the geese. I wouldn't say I've got a specific bird. I mean, growing up, red kite, which is a bird of prey, they was something that I'd always loved to see. And now with the reintroduction programs, they're more common. When I first lived in the village that I do, there weren't any around, and now every year, I think I'm pretty sure they're breeding now. So that's a great success story. It's just there's a lot out there. You just enjoy what you see. You're not going to see it every time, and I think that is it's almost like, one way to describe it is almost like Christmas. You go out birding and you never know what you're going to get. Yeah. Life is like a box of chocolates.
I like life is like a box of chocolate. But the other side of it is, I think there's something to be said about the sort of more philosophical side of actually doing it, through what I would understand and why I would be appealed to doing birding or doing something along those lines. Is that it very much takes the technology out of the experience. So yes, you can do digiscoping, you can do this and that, but what you can actually do is be genuinely in the moment.
Yeah, it is. You can take yourself away. Obviously, we are becoming into a more digital age, but you can still step back from that all. I mean, a lot of birders, the general age range are 40, 50 plus, so they're not digitally minded anyway. Yeah. I'm sure they won't mind me saying that. So they're birding with a pair of binoculars, a tripod with a scope on, and a notebook. So the only digital thing they might have them on is their phone these days. There is always a digital side to it. A lot of people these days will log birds through their phone. I mean, I've got apps on my phone that will like a news service, so you get notifications on what's around. So a lot of people are looking on that. The old way of doing that was with pages, which are now basically redundant these days. There are few people will use pages, especially if you're on the coast where you've got no signal. But apart from that, pages are now redundant. But it's having that, it's using technology to benefit us when it comes to birding. There are you can get distracted where you're spending too much time on your phone, and you're missing the birds. These days there's an app, a Merlin app, which is American made, where you can just record what you're listening to, and it will just identify all the birds.
Really?
Yeah. It's
So
very
that's
fancy.
mad.
AI is becoming
huge. It's going to be affecting so many different things, but I wouldn't have actually expect it kind of affecting that.
Yeah, we could have used it earlier, and that kingfisher I heard that you guys couldn't hear, I mean, that would have picked it up straight away. Don't get me wrong, because it's more American based, it does get some bits wrong, but you say 95% of the time it's
Do you reckon they have accents?
That's
what
a
American
very,
accent
yeah.
and then like a British accent.
I mean, obviously the birds in America and the birds here are very different.
Yeah.
At the moment, we've had a load of big storms coming through.
Yeah.
You guys would have had most of it here, and that did bring a load of American birds over,
Okay.
and potentially the best ever autumn in the UK for American birds.
Oh,
so
mad.
a lot of the big twitchers, including, well, bigger twitchers than myself, were licking their lips at the potential of seeing all these birds that they never thought they'd see. There was, normally you only get 1 or 2 firsts for Britain in the UK.
Okay.
This autumn we've had first for Britain, second for Britain, and multiple third or fourth for Britain, and everyone's been like, to the point where, what do you go for? Normally you have one option and you go for it, and this time there's almost been too much choice.
Oh man.
And no doubt loads of stuff got missed.
Yeah.
Because as we come in September, October, that's when the birders get excited because it's migration.
Yeah.
Everything's already bred, so it's not a rush for them to go back to their wintering grounds.
Okay.
They can be more steady with their process. In the spring, especially from Africa, they're shooting up to where they can breed to get the best spots for territory straight away. But in the winter, they're more slow about it.
Yeah.
And this means that we can get stuff pushed in from the east, from Asia, or if winds come from the west, we get stuff coming over the Atlantic. Obviously, a lot of those birds die going over the Atlantic, but you get some pretty cool birds.
Yeah.
So I'm off to the Scilly Isles, which is off the end of Cornwall, so it's a ferry from Penzance next week actually, and that is for the hope of seeing those American birds. And
nice.
everyone's got radios, you're in different WhatsApp groups, so that's where another way. WhatsApp groups for birding in general is ridiculous. There's so many on my phone, I have to keep them muted half the time. But you're all in the moment now.
You're all in there.
Yeah.
So, tell me the stuff that you get from each kind of like
From the different Zeiss.
from the different Zeiss products.
So if we start from binoculars, we start off with the Terrors. So we call them like entry level into the premium optics. That's what, if you want that. It's like having an Apple or a Samsung phone or an Android. You want that premium brand, but you probably can't afford it, so you go for the lower model.
Yeah.
And obviously, when you go for that lower model, everything you're not going to get the same specifications, but you're getting that brand, you're getting that recognition, and that's where the Terrors come into it. They also come in a pocket version, so you can a lot of people who do a lot of cycling.
Yeah.
Or a lot of walking will just have a pair of pockets around with them, and I think for you guys, I think they sell quite well because they're
good.
They're good for for their purpose.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the Terra particular optics, is that they offer a good stepping stone into the higher quality optics that you get from the higher quality brands like yourself, which is Zeiss, Swarovski, and Leica. Those are the 2-3 top out of what
They're
we have,
the top
really.
3 for most things.
And they are and I think the Terrors have always been a very good entry into that.
Yes, which I think, obviously I don't name other brands, but other brands don't really have that entry in, and that's where Zeiss, you can join that family sooner. And then you move into the Conquest range and you get a more robust housing.
Yeah.
Obviously all our products are waterproof, but you just another level of better quality, better lenses.
Yeah.
That's what you get as you move up from the Conquests, and then you move into the SFLs, which the SFs and SFLs, SF being the premium, which is what these are, stands for the smart focus, what we said. But these days everyone is on about keeping the same quality of optics but them being lighter. Don't get me wrong, these are light, but people still probably everyone wants lighter stuff. So the SFL stands for smart focus light, that's all it is. So they've shaved a load of the weight and they've kept that optical quality. And the SFLs, one thing I always tell people is how close they can focus. People who are buying binoculars, and a lot of them are going to be hardcore birders. They're going to be general nature wildlife enthusiasts who are going to like to look at butterflies and dragonflies in the summer and stuff like that, whatever's in their garden. And you can focus, it's about 1.5 meters, but I suspect it's a little bit less. Normally when you have a pair of binoculars and you see a butterfly, you're too close to it, so you normally have to walk back with your binoculars. But with the SFLs, most of the time you have to walk forward towards it because you can focus that well, and it's just enhancing that experience when you're out in nature.
Amazing.
And then we have the ergonomic concept. So with a pair of binoculars, you normally have about 7 or 8 lenses in a binocular. And what we've done is we've pushed 5 of those lenses towards the eyepiece. So when you've got your binoculars up and you're using them, they're balanced in your hand.
Okay.
So you're not going to,
so it's a little bit more comfortable.
You're not going to have that. But you probably won't notice that until you turn the binoculars the other way and they want to fall away from you because they become top heavy.
Okay.
That's not something people realise often with the binoculars, but that is what we've included.
That's actually a really good point to make, to be honest.
Yeah, the ergo balance in them, the different coatings. So the the T-Star coating, the Lototech coating, the ultra fluoride lenses, whatever's in it.
All of the fancy
I
stuff.
could go into the fancy stuff, but it increases your duration of birding, so you can be birding later in the day and earlier in the day because you're able to gather that much more light.
Yeah.
You have a higher contrast, so that, and also when we were saying the difference between lower end products and higher end products, when you're looking through a pair of binoculars, the center column that you're looking through, the subject hopefully is sharp, but then the outside can be a little bit blurry. But with field flattener technology and just that's also what you're paying for.
Yeah.
Everything's crisp from end to end, and also you have a wider field of view, so you're not having to pan too much with binoculars. You can reel these things off all day, and that's what you pay for when you get a higher brand.
Yeah, fancy. I like it. No, yeah. Anything else?
I learned a lot then.
I learnt a lot then. I need to let it sink in. No. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you put the binocular, if you hold them,
Yeah.
they're nice and balanced. Yeah, pull the eye cups out or whatever. They're nice and balanced. Now you hold the binoculars the other way, you'll feel them want to fall away from you because they push the lenses towards your face.
Oh my days, that's sharp.
Yeah.
Hello. I should do the intro like this. Hang on a sec. Where is it? There it is. Hello and welcome to. Hang on a sec, I need to. Hello and welcome to Camera Central Podcast. Today we're birding.
Indeed, we are.
That's going to be the intro now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you hold them the other way, flip them around, you feel them. They want to like almost fall away from.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because of where the lenses are in the binocular.
Yeah, that feels really nice actually.
Yeah.
Something you wouldn't necessarily notice though.
No, it's not something you notice, but
But it's something that builds up strain over time. So.
It is, and people don't notice it. But then when you tell them about it, and then they notice it with other binoculars, they're like, "Oh yeah, like you're actually telling the truth." It's like, no, it's not just random rubbish we put on a fact sheet. Like there's science behind it, and it does work. I mean, this is my personal pair I've had for 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah.
They've been to North Wales, they've been to Israel twice in the desert. They get their use, and the armouring, it looks almost brand new.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Obviously, other brands you can fault or whatever. You don't get that with Zeiss. I think another thing with Zeiss is that most of our products you can be serviced in the UK. Now with Brexit, everything beforehand used to go to Germany or whatever. It can now be serviced in the UK for most of it, and that is a big thing.
Oh, 100%.
One thing birders don't want, or anyone with binoculars, is to not have those optics for 6-7 weeks.
Yeah.
If you can manage for a week and a half, 2 weeks, then no, fine, fair enough. But not a huge length of time, and that's something that people quite like.
Right. Nice. Cool. Happy with that? Cool. Anyway, it has been a pleasure having you down, man. Again, when it comes to the podcast, I feel like I learn so much. It's always something new every single week. But genuinely, thank you for coming down, and look to hopefully do some more stuff with you in the future. We're talking about maybe going to Swansea, Llanelli. What was it, Llanelli?
The WWT Centre. We could do some bird in there. And put more of the optics to use. Like I say, we only brought 1 or 2 of them with us, but we could also bring the scopes and the thermals as well. We've not even spoken about the thermals, and we can use them with the full DTI range. We can bring them down. And have good fun.
That sounds really good, and I will make sure I bring a really big lens.
Yes,
and you can help me get some really good photos. But anyway,
cheers.
Sick man.
Cheers, thank you very much.
Have a good day. Yeah, cool.